Well, hello. This is Peter Combs from Bitamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, November 16th, 2018. And this is our weekly look back at last week's eBay and Catawiki auction results. We'll see what's coming up in the next week. And also to go over a few things that we did around here this week in case you missed it. One of the things that we put up was we were able to get to the auction results from London earlier this month at Sotheby's, Bonhams, and Christie's. The results were pretty mixed bag. Great things from great collections brought the world, and things that were overestimated or maybe had been around the market a little before getting to the auction halls didn't do quite so well. All right, one of the pieces that did phenomenally well was this. It was about a 10-inch tall 15th century gilt bronze figurine from the Ming Dynasty mark and period. It brought about $2.5 million, which is one of the highest priced bronzes of this size to sell in a very, very long time. May have been even a record for its size and age, but that was the kind of week it was. Also, I wanted to mention on the forum, there's been some discussion because of communication problems with Catawiki and some issues that people have encountered there. I've been in regular contact with them, I'll put it this way, for the last week. I'm trying to get them to work out some things. They have to get a lot better at responding to inquiries, and they are working on it. And to that end, I've convinced them to put a contact box on their page on our site so that if you have an inquiry, you want to ask a question, you can go there, you can enter your email address and your name and just send them a message and say, I'm interested in this, I need to know how tall something is, and I've told them that they cannot, not respond for a day or two. They need to respond to inquiries within 10 or 12 hours, okay, for this to work for them. They're trying very hard. They're going through some growing pains, I think, and they have been pretty responsive with me about working out some things. So let's see how that goes, okay? And if you have any problems, I know you'll all get a hold of me because I've been getting emails all week. All right, and now on to this. We did put up the sales catalogs for Sotheby's and Christie's for the upcoming series in Hong Kong, end of this month. And one of the catalogs is absolutely amazing, and it's this one. It's called Beyond Compare, and it really is no lie. And in this sale is something that doesn't happen very often in the auction world. They're going to be auctioning a relatively newly discovered Ruware bowl that was an heirloom collection in Japan. This is the bowl. Absolutely amazing. It's estimate on request. I don't know what it'll bring, 20, 30 million, maybe more. Superbly well shaped. It has been repaired. But as you know, there are only, less than 100 known examples in the world. The vast majority of them are in private museums or government museums. And this is a really beautiful example. As you can see, spectacularly beautiful. And there's some other great things in there. There's a Kanuta mallet vase that's also from a Japanese collection that's estimate on request and is absolutely superb as well. Also, they have the second part of the Yang de Tang collection of jades. They did part one of the jades last year or so, and they did before that the Yang de Tang collection of some of their ceramics. And now they're doing part two of the jades. And this is not a disappointing catalog. And this is something I haven't seen. I've seen these deer and antler figures. They're Western Zhao in bronze. I've never seen them in jade. Not like this. And this is the kind of thing you're going to see in the collection. Absolutely outstanding. These are estimated at $52,000 to $77,000. But extremely rare, so we'll see how they do. There's a lot of great stuff in this catalog. If you like early jades, check the catalog out. All of them are on the bookcase over on the site. And then they have this. This is a 3-lot catalog of extremely fine Qing Dynasty enamels. And one of the pieces they have is quite extraordinary, is this. It's a 100 deer jar with blue enamel handles. These do not turn up very often at all. They're very, very rare. This one is estimated at $2.5 to $3.8 million. It could go through that. I don't know. These blue-handled models are just incredibly rare. It is, of course, mark and period. And there are two other superb things in this catalog as well. So you want to check those out. And then they also have, Christie's got the lion's share of the sales this time around. Sometimes it's Sotheby's, sometimes it's Christie's. This time it's definitely Christie's. A couple sales ago it was Sotheby's that got the bulk of the great things. But this is an absolutely great catalog, and in it As you can see on the cover is a collection of month cups. It's a full set of 12 month cups. Very, very unusual, and we'll see how they do. They should do very well. And there's some very good early Ming blue and whites, but superb examples, and we'll see how those do. All right. So stay tuned. We'll do a video on the highlights next week. We're going to try and get that done. All righty. And but if you want to see the catalogs, come over to the website and click on the bookcase button over on the forum or on the home page or on the newsletter page. There's one for reference books, and you can check it out. The other thing we did do this week is we've been updating the eBay Today auction page. I think every day this week it was updated by 6 or 7 in the morning. We found a way to get that done. We have to check it before it goes up, but that seems to be working okay. All righty. And now over to the eBay auction results. And in this sale was this really great little 18th century signed Netsky. Beautiful patina on it, nicely carved with a Fu lion with a ball. Just a great little example. If you're a Netsky collector, I hope you saw it. I hope you bought it. All right. And it sold for $933, but absolutely great little example. This is a seller over in the UK that I heard about through William Martindale, who's a dealer in England. And he pointed them out to me, and we've been keeping an eye on them. They get nice things. Okay. And on to here was this very nice, they called this a Neue Straits vase. I don't know as I'd call it Neue Straits. The coloring on it is a bit unusual, but what was really interesting about this vase is that it's all cast relief work molded with figures on it. It's very three-dimensional. I liked it a lot. Just interesting vase with this sort of dry finish ground and sort of a dark green, almost a tea dust green ground color. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,326. It's a late 19th century vase. How tall was this? This was 18 inches tall. So that was a pretty good buy, I think. I like that. And then onto this was the mirror. We talked about this. We mentioned it when it went up. This really nice silver gilt and enameled mirror with inset with semi-precious stones and maybe a little bit of jade in there, with a jade disc and jade belt dragon handle. A belt hook on the handle. A beautiful example, and it did very well. It took off. It brought $4,138. All right. That was a nice piece. That was one of the nicest mirrors we've seen on here in a long time. It was probably assembled around 1900, I would guess. All right, and then on to this. This was a nice early Ming, or maybe a little before, bronze. Good surface on it, nice patina, nice looking bottom here. No edge repairs or anything like that. Good straight up little bronze. Okay, there it is. Good color. Did have a tiny dent, but that isn't much. For an old piece like this, but a nice form. And it went reasonably. I've said this a million times. These old Yuan Ming Dynasty bronzes are relative bargains in the marketplace. It went for $522.95. Okay, that was a good buy for someone. And if you saw it and you didn't bid on it, well, I'm sorry. Leave a bid. I always say it. Just leave a bid on things when you see them. Don't wait. And think you'll come back later, or put it on a watch list and forget it. And then all you get to do later then is just go look and see what it brought because you didn't participate. So chase it. Go after it. All right. And then there's this early 19th century Famille Rose bowl with immortals on it. This was a rather nice bowl. Here's a nice close-up of it. It had a couple of little scratches and whatnot in it, but overall a nice piece. And it ended up selling for $1,930. All right, but that was a good-looking bowl. All righty. And then on to this, the jade figure of the Kuan Yin. I like this one. It was a later one, later 19th, early 20th century one, but very nicely carved, very, very attractively carved piece. And somebody had added, I think this was maybe added later, or maybe it was done at the time, of her holding up a piece of hard stone with a piece of enamel on top of it. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,561. But nice looking thing, and it was the one with the Kirin behind her, had the standing figure in back of her. All right, and then on to this nice little Kangxi melon-formed teapot was a good example. I think it had a tiny little nick at the tip of the spout or something and some minor fritting, which is typical on these. But it did pretty well. It brought $294, but not at all an overpay. That's a sweet little teapot. And I think somebody that was a nice buy. That was a good buy, I think, for these, because we had them before and we've seen them go for over 500. So I think that's a good deal. And then on to this. This was one of the things we featured on the front page of the newsletter. It was one of the featured pieces. We're going to show you a couple of them. I just thought this was a great little Wanli plate. It had this honeycomb molded rim to it with a parrot in the center. Just a great little dish. And it went for $300. Egmont Horn had this, but that was a nice, legitimate little thing. Really liked it. And onto this was was a nice little Famille Rose teapot with a flattened lid, and the finial had been reattached. It had some minor little condition issues, but the coloration was nice and vibrant, and not a fancy thing, but a nice little teapot. And it went for just $104. Okay, that was a very good buy. You've seen these before, and many of you that watch these videos regularly have seen these same exact little teapots go for $350 at times. Okay, so somebody was astute and they got on that. Okay, and then on to this was that very nice little Japanese market dish with the pine tree in the middle. Really nice little piece of Chanchi ware, beautiful late Ming Dynasty, and it went for $326. I thought that was a very sweet example. I love the sort of random decoration on those and lots of negative space. Very, very pretty. And onto this, that Famille Noire Kangxi early Qianlong period teapot with these big, was probably young Chenda Qianlong, but nice Famille Rose, vibrant Famille Rose decoration on a black ground, which is rather unusual for these. You don't see a lot of these. It did have some damage, as you can see here on the spout, but there was no crack. So this is a pretty easy fix for even a mediocre restorer, and it wouldn't be a big deal, and you'd have a very nice little teapot on your hands. And it only went for $236, which I think was a relative bargain. Really do. And then on to this was that nice Famille Rose, pink-rimmed, with the scrolls alternating up and down here, inside and outside, all the way around, with a couple of quail in the center. Nice little dish. This was also a great buy, $104. All right, these are the kinds of things that people that they may be shopping on a budget and they just leave bids. They just buy them. All right, and every once in a while, if you leave enough of them, you get things like this for $100. Because as I'm showing these today, I think because to show that there are some very nice buys to be had, and this is one of them. All right, because you often see them selling for a lot more than that. All right, and then on to here was this 18-inch vase. This actually sold a couple of weeks ago, and it evidently didn't get paid for, unfortunately. And the guy put it up again, and as far as I can tell, I think he got the same money all over again, $650. And I think that's just about exactly what it sold for a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. All right, this seller gets some nice things. All right, and then on to this, you have this very nice Thai market ware. They put the bowl on top of a food stand. They don't go together. It was sort of curious that they did them this way. This isn't the stand that goes with it. That jar should be by itself, but it looked nice anyway. But here's the base, obviously a different color palette than the pot itself, but they chose to photograph them together for some reason. But this was a nice one, and Ben Krong ware. And the set went for $1,049. All right, but it was mostly for the jar, not for the stand. The offering stand was worth maybe $150. All right, but the upper section was quite nice, and it was an old one. All right, and then on to no, we've done this one. We've already done it. Excuse me. And this one. This was the one that was from At Asian Art. That very nice enameled export for the Chinese market dish with the blue crosshatch border and these alternating panels, and very focally drawn, and it ended up selling for $910. I thought this was very nice. It was a piece of a Rita, not crackware. It was a Rita piece, and but beautifully done, and very early. He dates at 1640 to 1660. I think he's about right. All right, and remember, the Japanese didn't even learn to make porcelain until about 1590. They were 600 years behind the Chinese on that. All right, so that was a very nice early piece of Arita. And then on to this. This was the background robe we had up with the roundels of dragons, and it had three visible from the front. There's another one in the center of the back, and just a beautiful robe, and in very nice condition too. If you notice again, look up here around the collar. There's not a lot of discoloration. The sleeves are nice and neat, and it ended up selling for $10,109. Which is a pretty good price for that, but not out of the ordinary. As we saw last week, there was that amazing dragon robe that sold at in London that went for Qinlong robe, of course, but $603,000. So everything's sort of relative, you know. All right, and now we're going to mosey over here. This was that Wanli dish I mentioned last week that I thought was so attractive because it has a hawk in the middle of it. Right here, okay, and that's rather unusual. You don't see them very often. The plate had a couple of little hairlines in it, but I thought it was a terrifically if you collect Wanli dishes and crackware and that sort of thing, this was an unusual one, okay, for its center decoration. And it ended up selling for just $257, which isn't bad. All right, that's a very reasonable price, even with the little hairlines, because it had an unusual center pattern, okay? And then on to this was that very pretty Mandarin scene dish, the first half of the 19th century, with the scholars sitting around, this guy with his fly whisk, sitting around at a table playing and having tea. This fellow looks like he's playing a zither, and they're chatting and whatnot. I should point out, too, now I'm thinking of it, that Beyond Compare album that's coming, auction that's coming up, has in it a Song Dynasty carved wooden handled fly whisk, and it's estimated at hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's quite a rare thing. The whisk on him just made me think of that, so we're going to take a look at that next week. All right, but this is a very nice plate, and it went for $225, which is perfectly in the range that these sell for. Just about right in the center. And this was a sweet buy. This was a little pair of Kangxi vases. They were only a few inches tall with silver mounts on them, Dutch silver probably. And look at this. The pair sold for $85, okay? You know, like I said, leave a bid. That was a good buy because we all have seen these on eBay before, and they sell for, you know, maybe $200-300, okay? So that was a very, very good buy for someone. And then on to this. This was that very large, 16-inch tall or so carving of the ox with the kids on the back of it. And this was all inlaid with silver wire. Nice example. I like this a lot. And there might have even been a thin lacquer coating over it and glass eyes. I thought this was pretty terrific. And it sold for $629, all right? But this was a big piece. It would make a nice table object, all right? I have stuff like this in my house. I like it. All right, and then on to this was the blue and white 18th century Yongshen teapot. It was a nice one. Had the brown dressing on the rim, these big lotus flowers and so forth. And it went very reasonably, $194. All right. We point these out because on the newsletter because we think sometimes they're going to go pretty reasonable. You might want to check them out. All right, take a shot at them. And then also there was this, we just saw another plate from the same period over on eBay sold. And here's one that's a little fancier. And a very deep, dark famille rose enamels, almost a ruby red all the way around. Nice example, beautifully shaped border decoration. And $115. How do you go wrong with that? That was a good buy. All righty. And then coming up next week, there's a number of things on here. Here we go. There's this. This is a late brush pot, but it is an antique one. And I thought it was very interesting with the soldiers and so forth on it. If you come and look at it, you'll see, you look down inside, it's obviously an old pot, but nicely done and kind of unusual. Probably done around 1900 to 1920, maybe 19th century. But I liked it. I like this kind of work. I like that carving with the phoenixes on it. Very attractive, and it closes on Tuesday, and has only about $12 in bids on it. should go for much better than that. And then we saw this. This was really pretty. A Famille June with Famille Rose decorated, slab constructed vase. Nice looking thing with the lion, the Food Lion handles on the sides. Very pretty. That's up right now. Again, it's at $12. It's got a few days to go. And this is a rarity. This is a very interesting fan. If you're a fan collector or you like China trade paintings, this is an old one, okay? And it's depicting the Hongs. And if you come over here and really look at it, you can actually date this painting on this by looking at the layout of these buildings, because one of the things that they've done with China trade paintings of the Hongs, they've been able to date them by the configuration of the buildings and the flags and so forth. All right, because they were generally painted from life. And here's another scene. Okay, so if you have access to some China trade paintings, you could probably pretty accurately tell when this picture was done. I'm guessing it was done probably in the first quarter of the 19th century. But it's a nice old fan with mother of pearl handles, beautifully painted. This is a good fan. Okay, if you like Chinese export, and it's up to $224, and it's got 7 days to go. So I think it's going to do pretty well. But that's a rare one. That's a really rare one. Most of the ones you see have people on them. And then there's this nice punch bowl. It's got 46 bids. It's only up to $377. But this is a nice Famille Rose 18th century bowl. Good looking example, nice and clean. And then there's this. Our friend over in the Netherlands has this up. This is one of these. They call them something Pronkwares, named after Cornelius Pronk. He was a foreigner who lived over there. The garnisher set, the shapes of them, and they're often associated with Pronk. But beautifully done. And they have some edge fritting on and whatnot on them, but you don't see sets of these very often. These are pretty rare, and they're quite attractive and interesting coloring. And we'll see how they do. They're up to $33. They have a few days to go. And this is our friend Freak over in the Netherlands has those. And then on to here at Asian Art has another Ming Karak plate up. He gets good ones. He has some nice examples of this one with the bird in the center. And it's got a few days to go. It ends next Friday, actually a week from today. It's up to $20. And we'll see how that does. Okay. And that's it. So check back later next week, and we'll try to get a nice video put together for the Hong Kong auction. I love some of the stuff they've got. There's some awful powerful stuff. It's going to be a test of the market. And if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. If you're not subscribing to the weekly newsletter yet, come over to bidamount.com, and you can find buttons to sign up all over the place. It's completely free. Take part in the forum. That's free too. Everything we do is basically free. It seems, other than sell things. And check it out, and leave a comment here if you want to say something. All righty. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.